Hello, we are live yet again, and this is a back-to-back Authors Chat of the Week. And I'll keep my eye out for my co-host for today, and we'll be talking about, as always, books, writing, publishing, and everything in between. So if you like all things books, come and hang out with us for the next hour or so. And I see if he sees my invite. Here we 3, 2, 1. Hello!
You doing?
Let me see if sorry, I'm gonna turn up my volume. Hello, hello? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can, perfect.
Oh yeah.
We're rock and rolling. But it's been a moment since we got to connect this way. It's been almost a year, I think, since the last time we did a live together.
Yeah, it's crazy. Time it flew by fast too.
Oh yeah. But I guess what else, I always let you reintroduce yourself for everybody and tell us about what you write because and what all you have been keeping you busy for the past year.
Oh yeah. My name is Dartanyan Johnson. I write fantasy and science fantasy. Normally it's space opera, but a lot of people don't know what space opera is, so I've just been saying science fantasy because they understand that. But it's science fiction with fantasy, with magic and stuff. So
I
that's
love
what
that.
I write.
I love that. I actually, I had to explain to my husband recently what space opera was because he was like, "Oh, when I heard opera, I thought it was a bunch of people singing," and I'm like, "Not that kind of opera."
Right, right.
But it's one of those things that it is a fun genre for anybody who has not watched or read it, and most likely you have, because Star Wars falls in that category, and a bunch of these kind of, again, epic sci-fi stuff all kind of fall in the space opera side of things, too. But when you add a little bit of magic in, heck yeah!
Yeah, it makes it great. I love magic. I put magic in everything.
Yes! So, I'm trying to remember when was the last time, because it takes, for anybody who's jumping on and is not a writer here, it can take us forever to get a book published. It can. Behind the scenes, I wish I could say we turn a book around every month, but that's not always the case for all of us. So what was your last project you released? I can't remember when you published the last time.
Last book that I came out with was Escaping Altezza. This one right here.
Okay, so
And
that one came out after we talked last time.
yeah, that was the last one. I was supposed to release something, and it didn't get released.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It happens. Is that because of editing or because you decided to redraft on your own or something else came up?
Oh yeah. What happened was, okay, I'm writing a book, and I see how much of the
Whoop. I think I lost your sound there for a second there. We'll pause for a second.
oh yeah, no, someone was calling me.
Oh, that happens. Always when you're on a live stream. That happens to me all the time.
Right. Yeah, but yeah, no. What happened was, I realized how much writing I had to do, so I went ahead and finished that, and I released an audiobook instead. So I had a omnibus audiobook, books one and two.
That's nice. How do you like the audiobook releases? Because I'm very bad about, I don't know how to market audiobooks. I either feel like people stumble upon them or
How it worked, because what I did was, instead of putting the audiobook under my book one, I put it under my box set one and two. So if you don't see the box set, then you might not see the audiobook unless you actually look for the audiobook, an Audible or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
I wish things synced up a little better between audiobooks and print books and ebooks and all that stuff because sometimes people do have to dig and I was like, I promise I have them. I wish they were just all kind of interconnected really easily. Sometimes that's not the case.
I typed your name in on Audible, and that's how I saw all your books there.
Well, good. Okay, glad that popped up because sometimes I feel like they don't search as well. But the same thing as my other books. Sometimes I'll search my own name just because, and it just doesn't pop up the way I'm expecting it to be. And I'm like, is this a problem for other people? Because it's
For you, right? Yeah, no, your name popped up though.
that's That's good. I like that. That is good. It's nice to have an unusual last name.
Right, right.
So people don't usually, they would be very rare if someone had my same name. But yeah, so with your audiobook that your came out, how did you connect with your narrator? Did you go and find them? How was that process for you?
Did the audition thing, and whoever sounded the best, I rode with. Well, who sounded the best under my budget? Uh, because yeah, because I wanted to pay for the whole thing. I didn't want to do like the royalty share or anything. So I went ahead and it was a nice price. So I just paid them up front.
That's a good thing. I mean, royalty shares have perks for it, but they also have downsides. And I do a little bit of everything since I have all three of my series going through different stages with different people. And but yeah, it can get pricey.
Yeah, yeah, and mine was pretty cheap because she was just now getting into it, and she hadn't really done fantasy, too many fantasy titles yet. So it was kind of cheap, and I want to do my third book before she started raising her prices because it's coming.
I get that. I understand because when people start getting popular, it's like, well, that's nice. On the other hand, as a writer, sometimes you're like, well, if I became really popular, would I adjust the price of my books? Maybe, maybe not. I want everybody to read them, but I also like paying bills.
Yeah, some books are crazy high. I was looking at an ebook; it was like 14.99.
Holy moly!
That's insane. It was I was just looking at one. I don't know if it was I forgot. 'Cause Fourth Wing is pretty expensive, but whatever it was pretty. It was up there.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't know. That's scary.
nice. I don't have that power behind my name yet to be able to be like you charge now strategies, and this is a strategy side of things. But I actually have talked to some authors, one in particular, and they will make their ebooks really high on other platforms to try to encourage readers to buy direct from them, where then it's a lot cheaper. And I was
Yeah,
like, huh.
I don't I don't do it quite like that, but I do. Like for instance, my first book is 3.99 on Amazon, but it's 2.99 on my website. But I don't tell anybody that it's on my website, so so I guess they'll just find it.
You have to go for that's the thing is yeah, I just started doing direct sales at the very end of last year and still trying to figure out again. I am a horrible person in the sense of I hate marketing and advertising and selling. I like the writing. I feel like I'm not the only one in this boat, but I don't really want to be like buy the book, buy the book, buy the book. But if I don't always say it, you don't reach people.
Market if if I knew what I was doing, like if I had like a checklist in front of me of things I'm supposed to do to market my book, I'll do it. I just don't know what the hell I'm doing.
I, it's a struggle. It's a struggle for all of us. But yeah, so going back to your work, what do you have aligned next? Because we got your audiobooks come out in an omnibus version, which is fantastic. So anybody check them out. And so what is your next plan, next stage of your
I
career?
have a fantasy that I'm working on. I'm
Ooh.
about to see if I can show y'all. Had some character art, and I've been trying to show everybody because I don't have anything else to show. I don't have anything else to show. Hold on, let's see if I can. Let's see if you can see it. Look at my
Ooh.
character art right there. But yeah, this one is about it got a little romance in there. It's about a guy trying to, he's fighting for his innocence, and then you have a young woman who wants to bring him in, take him down and collect his bounty, and she hires him, not knowing that he's a person that she's looking for. So
Ah.
they go on this grand adventure together, but I mean, eventually she has to find out.
The truth will always find a way to make itself known. But what happens after? Dun dun dun. I love that.
There's an old lady in here that's a witch. I don't tell you she's a witch yet, but she's actually ties into another series that I'm working on. Yeah, so
Oh,
it'll all tie in together. It's pretty cool how I did it, but it takes a long time because writing a book it takes forever.
yeah. Yes. 100%. Whatever's longer than forever, that's usually what happens. And then the editing process on top of that.
Editing, I've done enough editing now. It's not editing. It just takes up a lot of brain power. It's like my brain is just draining out of my ears. But editing is not really. Editing is bad when I'm doing it, but it doesn't take so long. In about a month, I can have everything edited, sent out to the editor. They send it back. I make real quick adjustments, and that's pretty. But it's saying what I want to say, how I want to say it the first time. That's what it takes. And I write everything by hand, and then I transfer it onto the computer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But I
Yep.
do it like that, so by the time I'm finally done handwriting it, I know the story.
And there is something with that good muscle memory about actually writing things down does help people remember. That's one of the tricks from like studying from, back in school years. If you actually write it down, handwritten style, it helps you kind of memorize it a little quicker for a lot of people. And I guess the same thing would go for authors because, yes, we're learning our story too.
Exactly.
Because it's going to be hard to remember all the details, for a first go around for anybody. But same thing with us in our writing. Now, do you outline when you write? Like, do you already come up with like a plan of action? Here's where the story goes, or are you one of more of those pantsers who let the story tell itself, and you're like, let's go on the ride together.
I have to plot it. I plot and I outline because I'm normally foreshadowing, and when I'm foreshadowing, I don't like to lose myself. So I have to outline certain things so I know where I'm going.
Oh
And if
yeah.
I do pants something, I'll pants the characters where I really don't know their personalities yet. Some people like to make the character this kind of person and then put them in the book. I like to figure out who the person is.
Oh, that's neat. I like that. I like that approach. And I totally get that. They're definitely, for me, I do have characters that I have a very strong opinion of what they should be starting off. But I also have some very bold characters that have become so vibrant, and I had no clue what they were going to be until they essentially told me their story. And I'm like, okay.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's cool. But yeah, no, it's I'm definitely a person who kind of like you. I like to have a structure and an end game and kind of know some of those things before I start a project. But it is so surprising how often things pop up and you're like, I didn't expect that.
Exactly. Yep. That's how it works.
With the fact that you're introducing or reintroducing a an older character that is in one of your other books, are all your books in the same universe, or do you have like different ones because you write different kind of genres? Do they all somehow interconnect in a weird roundabout way?
So what happened? My space opera, I'm writing different series in my space opera. Those all connect. And I'm writing different series in my fantasy. Those all connect.
Ah,
Yeah. So
fun.
yeah.
Now,
I mean,
are
I can have a whole career with just that universe.
I love that. But I mean, that's the truth. If you put so much, and I cannot say this enough, if when authors put so much time and effort in creating a world system, a magic system, a universe, I mean, it does help the next book and the next book and this series after that, if because you already have some of that groundwork laid out for you, and now you have a readership who is in love with that universe, essentially. So I think that's nice. And of course, I'm one of those people who does the opposite. Every time I write a series, it's completely different, and I don't know why I do this to myself. Every time. Oh man. But yeah, so okay, so you have this overlapping thing. Do you have any of like some big overarching storyline you're trying to tell, or it's just kind of like they're all in the same universe?
Okay, in the space opera, there's that big overarching storyline. It's deep, but for this one, for the fantasy, I said, well, let me not go so deep because I don't know if I'm losing people or maybe I'm just not doing it properly or something. So I said, let me do something that's more lighthearted and fun, and just get into the emotion of the characters, and then just do it like that.
So now with your fantasy, what makes it fantasy for anybody who's listening now, and potentially if I'm able to repurpose this on YouTube, who listens to it at a later date? What fantastical elements do you put into your books?
It's all magic. They have magic. They absorb energy from the planet and they turn it into fire or they turn it into water or, some kind of earth element. I have like life energy, where they're absorbing the energy and it's just all kind of stuff. But yeah, that's how I get down.
I love it. I draw my energy and creativity from the earth. Hey, that's a great way. So, what was your inspiration for coming up with your magic system, be it the elemental kind of stuff or, the life draining element of I'm pulling your life force style? Like, what inspired you to start writing fantasy? And then we'll go into your sci fi space opera in a moment.
With the fantasy, I was thinking of if someone's from a planet and they were like evolving with the planet and they had magic, where would the magic come from? And I was like, well, what happens if the magic is already in the planet,
Yeah.
And you could just absorb the magic. And then I had another system where what happens if you're absorbing too much magic and you're actually killing the planet?
I always love the counter questions. It's not all shiny and smiles and happy bubbles and all that kind of stuff. There's usually a counter. I like that whole balance is that kind of concept. But that's pretty cool. And for your the fantasy so how many sets of characters do you have? Because as you said, you have one kind of series that kind of deals with the fantasy, but you're also tying in now this other kind of I'm assuming new characters. And so how many different sub-series do you have?
I have a fantasy. I have the one that I'm coming out with. It's not, well, this was kind of like a standalone. And there's just two main characters. And the next series, there are three sisters and a wolf shifter, so you have four main characters. But I'm only sticking to like one person at a time. I'm trying to see what I'm doing. I did a lot of stuff. I did a lot of stuff with this one, so I'm trying to figure out how to actually say it. But yeah, but just those two, they meet. You have one of them that's like the king of one kingdom. The other one's a king of a different kingdom. It's big world. Three elven kingdoms.
Oh, that's cool. So what outside, is it just geography that then is very distinct for your elven kingdoms, or is there something else like these are wood elves and these are water elves? Like, what's the difference between the kingdoms? Is it just
Mostly geography, but one king has a blue magic, blue fire. He could turn into the phoenix when he's upset enough, but he can't control it all the time. And he's really the only one that has magic because in my other series, can I? Yeah, in the other series, the young woman has magic and she doesn't know where it comes from, but she has like blood magic and she's afraid of her magic because it's like angry magic. But if you read the prequel, you'll see where the magic came from because we talk about the sisters and how they went through their life. And one of the sisters embraced that anger because of what she went through.
wow, that's cool. And blood magic is one of those terrifying kind of magic. I don't know if it's its own system, but style. It always just gives me the shivers when I think about it.
And angry because her kind of like stranger to lover to enemy kind of thing. He's a demon lord, so I had to match him. I had to match evils.
Yes. And I think that's just so much fun when you get to come up with so many different characters and interrelationships and stuff like that. It's just the fun part of writing. And so okay, one, how do you keep track of your characters? Because I know with me, I come up with some really weird and wild methods to try to keep track of everything because when I'm like multiple books down the line of any of my series, I'm like, oh yeah, there was a character. What was that person's name? And it was from what?
Yeah, I put them in my head and then I forget about them. That's, no, but my editor makes a list for me. Like when she's done, she'll go ahead and write all the characters' names down, and like a little description, because I'm too lazy to do it, so she does it.
No, that's going above and beyond. That is a great editor then, because yeah, I had to do that, at least start that myself. But thankfully I had an editor be like, please rearrange it this way and make these kind of notes because it kind of helps both of us when we're going through editing, and also you'll want to refer back to it. I'm like, okay. Very smart. I don't like doing that because it's just I just want to write the story.
Right, right. Yeah, I have a notebook that I try to put the characters' names in, but the problem with that is I don't always know what a notebook is. I don't remember. I have so many notebooks. I don't remember which notebook I put it in because I will write notes in the notebook that's not necessarily for that story.
Okay, okay. It's the easiest method. Which one is in? No, it's in the reach method. Is what is in reach? Can I? Oh, no, I'm a sticky note person, and at every so often I have to like pause myself and go back through all the notes that I have on random sticky notes to try to clean off the desk, and because they go up the wall in front of my desk. So I just like, wait, what's this one about? Did I need this? Did we use this? Can I put this away? And I need to do that soon because I just started walking around. And I was like, man, I see sticky notes popping up in rooms that aren't my office. So I don't know where they're, how they're flowing out there, but I need to roll some of that back. It's a wild thing. But okay, so for your space opera, what were some of the inspirations for that particular series? Because that's again with some magic, but it very different than just a regular fantasy. Once you put them in the other worlds, other planets.
It started with Star Wars. That was the beginning of it, and then I went into me and my cousin we used to play video games all the time, and we wanted to put those characters that we made inside of like a movie or something. So I took like those elements, put them in the story, and then they started kind of just like shifting and turning and doing what they wanted to do, right? So then I had these magic powers, and then I had this space opera, and then I was just mixing and just pulling everything. I was reading a book, The Girl on the Train, and they had this mystery. I said, well, let me put some of this mystery in this book. I was just putting everything in there.
I love But why not? Why not? Why do you have to like stay in one lane? You can actually, well, and that's the thing is, you can create your new type of subgenre or niche genre or whatever by doing what you love. It's just sometimes it just takes a little more effort to again find those readers.
Yeah, I wish I'd have known. I'd have made it easy on myself, and I'd have stuck to the script.
understand. I understand. I'm becoming more and more self-aware or trying to be conscientious of how to find the right readers earlier on with the future series. And so I'm already coming in with the head, space and being like, okay, what kind of stories is this similar to? What can I be like? Well, if you like this, you like this. Where can I find those kind of readers? What are they into? And being a little more, smart about that going into it because like you, I just had so much fun just creating what I wanted to, and I'm proud of all my books. But it just makes marketing because I'm like, I don't know what to compare it to.
and and when I was listening to different podcasts, and they're telling you on the podcast that you write what you want to write what you love to read, and then different ways of selling it, and then you go out there and you realize that you wrote something and you can't sell it the same way everybody else is selling it. Yeah. So that's why I'm sticking to like you said. You have some comp titles. That's what you write. And you writing something just like, and that's why I did my fantasy like this. So I have comp title. I got serpent and dove. Like I got a list. I got about 30 or 40 different titles that my book is gonna, be able to work with.
That's smart. Yes, and that's yeah. I can't say salvage my other series for those purposes because I'm like, I don't even know how to even start trying to compare my magical multiverse portal jumping fantasy with anything else because I have not read anything similar to it. But again, going forward with I'm working on a standalone, my first standalone project, and I'm like, okay, if you like this, you'll like this. If you like this vibe, it has these elements, and I'm like, I'm ready for that marketing. But for my other ones, I'm like, help, I need somebody's help.
Right, right. Right? Is that the one with the Vikings,
The
or is that all
Vikings
the Norse mythology?
here for me, especially on this platform, because all I have to do is like Vikings meets dark fantasy, and people are like, okay, Norse mythology, dark retail, like, okay. But if you like the TV shows, I can like throw that one out. But yeah, my Portal Fantasy for young adults, uh, they're I have no idea how to compare them to anything. It's a challenge.
Find like another indie author or something that writes something similar or something.
Maybe. I just created my own super niche subgenre. That's only my work. Cries. Cries inside. Oh man. But okay, so I actually had someone ask me a question yesterday, and it was like, do you create your own book covers? How do you do that? And was explaining how I my process works for me. But like, for you, where do you kind of figure out what kind of book cover you want, who to create it, what you want to have on it, and how much say do you have versus letting the designer be like, I got you, just trust me.
So what happened was, when you're dealing with space opera, they have a lot of spaceships, right? And it just didn't seem right for me to have spaceships on it the same kind of way because mine is more character based. But what I put on there might not sell. So I liked it emotionally. Emotionally I enjoyed it, but trying to sell it was a little different. Uh, Another one I made, because I didn't have any money for it, is I went on I went on a what's it called, Shutterstock,
Yeah.
and I turned him purple. This is a whole other guy, and I made him purple and colored him in. And I said, you know what, I could do this myself. This doesn't sell either, but I felt good about it, right? So the next time, so for my fantasy, I actually talked to an actual designer. I said, look, this is what my story's about, right? I need you to make some magic happen. So that's what I'm waiting on that cover.
Oh, okay. One of the things, actually thinking about it, like talking about, and I had to do it. I tilt mine so you can see the one in the blue was my first book, Asara's Claws, and that was not the original cover because I wanted to have what I wanted on it. I wanted to look a certain way, and it just didn't sell. And so I had to do a lot of that research and be like, what is in this genre, subgenre? What would make sense? What kind of is the thing that's the on trend and on point for that, again, niche? And again, wanting to still make it your own, very true to you, but falling okay. You can kind of see, you can kind of tell what kind of vibe, what kind of age bracket, based on the cover, and that's when it started selling. So my reverse thing for you is, I love your space opera cover. I think that's a lot of fun. Now I can also, now once you mentioned about the spaceships, I'm like, oh, okay, well, down the line, if you want a more mainstream acceptable cover, you can get a different cover and then keep that one for special editions.
Right.
And this is the author special release cover.
Yeah, I might do that. I thought about once all, I think it's going to be seven of these. Once all seven are done, I might go ahead and hire someone to do all seven at the same time. I mean, that's just thinking big. I'm not saying I'm gonna have the money to do it, but that's what I'm thinking about doing.
Like,
And maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. I don't know.
and not to add more stuff on your plate, but now that I've finally dabbled with Kickstarter, I'm like, I get it now. For people who want to fund, for as one of the other authors on here, Diamante, he's running one or just finished one for his audiobooks. But other people do it for book covers and be like, hey, I really want to take this wonderful thing, but make it, more on trend and blah, blah, blah. And it's more work on your end, but you may be able to pay it off before you even have to put money down for that project. So sometimes that helps.
Yeah, I saw his. I think his was funded in a day or something like that, right?
Yeah. Here is also strategy. Now, the strategy of Kickstarter, which I will be perfectly honest, is bid very, very like what you're saying. Your goal is usually well under what your actual goal is, and that's because if you don't reach it, you don't get any of that money. So you have to reach it in that time frame. So you always kind of try to underfund yourself to hit the goal, and then everything else is bonus, and that's why you have their strategies and stretch goals and stuff like that. But yes, it was funded, but he was like, we need a little bit more so I can do what I actually want to do. And so it's a game. It's another game. Another marketing game. Cries. Whoever becomes an expert in marketing, one, I do not believe there's such a thing, but give me your trade secrets. I need.
Yeah, I could use some help.
Yep. But yeah. So, who is your favorite? Ooh. Okay. Actually, no. I'm not gonna ask the favorite character thing. I think that's a cruel question. But for someone who's never read your work and wants to read your work, which book should they start with, or books, if you have?
If you want to get a feel, I like to start people off with the little short story. It's a little short. It's easy read, and you can kind of get a feel for the writing, and you can see where the story's coming from. Um, this lady right here, though, this is my favorite character right here.
I love it.
It's just like, this is my favorite character. Her and her son. We learn about the son later on. Um, yeah, no, yeah, I think the short book is probably the easiest to digest and everything. But this one is kind of like in the past, like 3,000 years ago. Same people, same world. I mean, different people. But this is like her her ancestor from long ago, and how the story, how that country became what it was or whatnot. And this one is really just kind of epic fantasy. You know, this is kind of like there was magic in the world, and then the people were absorbing the magic, like I was telling you, and the planet fought the people back, and they started making magical constructs, and they was fighting. The people lost the war, and they don't have magic anymore.
Do you have one of these? I feel like they become spreadsheets after a while of here's my recommended order. Here are the things, or if you don't have a true recommended order, like here are the things to know about these books, and see which ones, like when people come up and be like, how do I decide? And you're like, buy them all, but they can't, so you have to make a decision.
I always start them off with the smallest book, just to see if they like the story, without feeling like they lost too much time, because that's really all a book is to me. It's like time, and people feel like I don't want to feel like I'm wasting people time when they're reading a book, so I start them off small.
And that's a smart thing. Is I know a lot of people, myself included, offer like free short stories for newsletters. So it's like, and like I give them a first few chapters of like the first of series, so they get a taste of the book and vibe, and hopefully, one, they want to read them all, but at least then they're like, oh yes, I like the dark fantasy Vikings, and I'm not really into maybe the young adult stuff. It's too out there for me. That's fine, but now they know which series to kind of jump right into. So it is kind of nice when you offer the little bite size samples.
So my next one for this fantasy I showed you for the artwork, I'm probably going to have a small book, of the old woman and her kind of like her story, trying to start them off with something small, because this one's probably going to be about 300 pages, and it might be, I don't know, might be a little too chunky to be like, hey, just go read this real quick. $5.99, go read it real quick.
I need a shirt that says I like big books, and I cannot lie, because I do like a chunky book. 300 is nothing.
Yeah,
Good.
I think someone had like a 600-page book. My first book was two book. My first two books was one book. It was like 800 pages, but I couldn't afford the editing, so that's why it's two books. I just cut them in half.
Also, it helps with the printing in one way, because printing, you will get to the point where you have too many pages and it's just not possible. And I know that's a shock to people, because I think somewhere in that stacks like Priory of the Orange Tree, which I have yet to read. It's on my physical TBR. That's a big book, but you will eventually get to the point where you can't physically put a book together as much as you want, and you either have to trim it down or split it up. I mean, Tolkien did that for Lord of the Rings, and we have 3 parts for one giant book. So
Yeah,
and
I think
people love it no matter what.
it was our limit is, but it was something there about 800, 800, it was something around there.
Whew. Yes, that is a story.
I couldn't imagine editing that kind of story. You know, if you edit an 800-page book, nope, not doing it.
But you wrote it, and you have to edit eventually. It's just you have a little break between, or you don't.
I mean, yeah, it was fun writing it, but trying to make it all make sense at the same time, that's crazy.
There is that. Oh my goodness. Especially like if you're a younger writer, and I feel like the more you write, the more efficient your storytelling becomes. And not just on like the character development, but you also are just better at, connecting the dots, pulling all the loose strings together and at an earlier stage versus some people who write an 800-page book and by the time they edit it, it still may be 808 pages, but they probably changed it over like 16 times from the start to finish because they're trying to make everything work, and that would be a lot.
The hell with that.
This is supposed to be a fun occupation or a fun side job, or once you stop liking and enjoying writing stories, why do it? Why do it?
Exactly. All right, that's why I write what I write. I might not sell it, but I write it though, and I'm happy about it. I mean,
Love what you write, because there are people out there. I don't know if Derek's still here, but like there are people out there who write what people who sound like when they pitch it such an unusual, strange concept, but people eat it up. When you find the right readers and you find that like those super fans, they will eat it up, and it does not matter how odd, strange, out there it is. You enjoy it, right? People will enjoy reading it.
good. It was kind of like it was familiar. It was like a YA Jurassic Park kind of book.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
No, yeah, I told him I love coming up with funky things like when people start, doing signed copies and all that kind of stuff. And I told him, I was like, you better be sending out little dinosaurs with your books, like the little teeny plastic dinosaurs. Just big bulk buy them, and each person gets your own little pet dino. It's like pet rocks. Does anybody know what those are anymore? About pet dino, but yeah, it's fun to come up with like little quirky things. Now, do you do signed copies at all for people, or is it all online for you?
I don't do signed copies because I don't have anybody wanting to read the books. So I said, why even do signed copies yet?
Okay.
I could do it. I could do it later.
Okay, because I like collecting signed copies. I would rather wait for a signed copy than just buy one off.
Yeah, someone was talking about doing like direct sales. It was like direct sales through their website, but they were still going through like an printing company or something like that, where you get the what kind of like Amazon almost, but you're doing it directly through. I forgot how they explained it, but I might do something like that, sell it direct. But I don't know if I'd get to sign it though.
It just depends on how it works. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze. But it all depends on how you structure it. For me, what I did is I created a Shopify shop, but I order my author's copies right now through Zon. That may change in the future. I may route it through a different printer, but so I get the author's copies to come in, and then I do take upon myself to then ship them out, but then I can sign them. I can throw in a lot of different goodies. That means I also can charge a little bit more, but I'm also giving you like, bookmarks, and again, you get the signed copies and note from the author and some fun stuff that way. And people love that. But it does, again, it just depends on how much time and effort you can or want to do, because then you ship it out. In the US, you have media mail. I use that all the time. Make it as cheap as possible to send it, because everybody wants an affordable book. But yeah, that's what I did for a direct sale. So I do order copies. That means I do have to have piles of like physical copies in my house so I can have stock. So give and take of everything, but those are kind of fun. There are other people who have a third person group that ships them out for you, and you don't have to really
Worry
do
about
it.
it.
But it just, I guess, you give up a part of your cut for that purpose. So,
Right. That's
oh,
not too bad, you know. I mean, if yeah, people were interested in it, you know, eventually,
eventually.
eventually.
Well, you let me
That
know when you do that because I love collecting signed copies. And anytime I whenever I do end up buying a book from one of my author people and it's not signed, I'm like, where can I find you in the world? Because I will track you down and you will sign this.
you gonna get that signature.
Do not make me have to mail this to you and then mail it back. I will get your signature. I will add it to my signed copy collection because I must. It's a need. Now, for people who are wanting to get your books, where can people buy them? Because again, I'm hoping to repost this. We'll see if this platform is nice and lets me do that. But if so, where can people find your books and get them themselves?
It's on Amazon, obviously, and I went through Draft to Digital, so it's on Kobo, it's on Barnes and Noble, it's it's everywhere. Well, they said it's everywhere. It's on Hoopla. If I think Hoopla you could rent them like a library or something. I don't even know how that works, but it's on there though. Yeah.
I that's one of my goals is trying to figure out how to take my books and make them wide distribution. Since I did direct sales, and I'm kind of doing it a weird way, but now I'm going to take it wide so I can also hopefully do the draft to digital approach. But I'm so nervous about it. I don't know why. I feel like it's learning a whole new platform, and I'm like so hesitant. And I don't know how complicated it is to learn all that, but I'm like, I don't want to do it, but I must.
Started wide. And then I went, like on podcasts, like Joanna Penn, they always tell you to go wide, or they was, real big advocates of it. So I started wide, and then I went to KU, and then I was kind of bouncing back and forth. But KU never really did anything for my space opera. So I just went back wide, and I said, well, if I'm not selling wide, I'm just going to try to figure out what I'm doing wrong, and I'm just going to be wide with in my space opera. I'm probably going to be wide with my fantasy, but I'm writing book under a pen name, and that one's going to be in KU.
Oh, nice. And that's the thing is, as authors, you can do both. You just can't do both with the same book. But you can do both with different series or the first one of one series and wide with the other. I mean, however you want to do it. But yeah, for me, like KU was working for a while, but then the payout started dropping, and then I was a little worried about the whole piracy and authors being kicked off if their stuff was pirated, because I know my stuff is pirated. And I was just like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable. I'm going to take it wide, except I haven't. I've done the baby step, and I've got it all on direct sales, and I haven't done the next step too.
That's kind of scary because they were shutting down whole accounts, and they were shutting down accounts for people that were selling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, I do think KU is definitely a genre based on your genre will depend on how well you can do on KU, because there are certain types of readers in certain genres that love it, eat it up, and you can write a book in that, and people who love KU pay all their bills off of it. Fantastic. That was me for a hot moment there, and then it kind of went down, and I was like, you know what, changing things up. Taking selling into my own, and we'll figure out how to do it. But all the learning curves.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again. It's easy, KU. It's fun. It's easy. I'm gonna try to write some It's a little spicier romance stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not gonna tell you I'm not gonna tell nobody what the pen name is. I want to see how I do first.
I like that. It's testing the waters and seeing where that goes. Of course, the question is, then are you going to market your other pen name at all? Or how are you, because that's the thing about pen names. It makes so much sense to like say, this name is for this genre, and you'll know what you're getting. But that's just, again, a lot of work. Maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I sound very lazy.
They have like little bargain book websites where they promote certain books. Like I forgot what the name of it was for the spicy one, but like free Booksy, something like that. Yeah, so they have different sites, and they have one for for spicier books, and you can go and you pay them X amount of money, and they'll send it out to their newsletter, and I'll do something like that just to see if I can gain some interest. That's probably how far I'm gonna go. I don't know if I'm gonna make another TikTok page. That's exhausting.
Well, if you ever not that, and again, I more my writer readers, hopefully I'm reaching the right ones, like the epic fantasy side of things. But I definitely do swaps with all different genres. So if you ever want me to post and share your book on my newsletter just with the pen name, the blurb, the pen name, the buy link, no faces connected to it.
Even
You
got
can
a,
always do that.
got a cover for that one. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. But I got covers. When it comes to book covers, I might not have wrote the book yet.
Hey, I know a lot of authors who like that. They seeing the cover or seeing character art before their book's done helps kind of inspire them, and I think that's really cool. I'm the one who's like, man, everybody has so much cool character art. Maybe I should do something like that. Starting to.
Character art is, I don't know how much. I don't know if it's helping sell or not. I don't know, but character art is addictive. It is fun, and that's the reason why, for me, I like playing with AI. I don't really use too much AI, but playing with AI is fun, just so you can just see what you think your characters are supposed to look like, just to see them. We're just doing it just to see them.
Oh yeah, no, for me, it's one of the things is again, I don't use AI for anything about writing the book or the covers or anything like that. At this point, I just can't. That's not for me. But what I will do is again with the images, some of the AI images, is when I'm doing some kind of post about a book release for like maybe a backdrop image, and then I still have my book cover and then my little notes and whatever the tagline is, but it's kind of cool, especially when you're creating fantasy or sci-fi realities. You're like, oh, this is fun.
Yeah, because it's still like on Shutterstock, or if you go on one of those other places, direct photos or whatever it's called, they don't really have that much stuff.
Not in the fantasy sci-fi, it's hard.
Right, it is. And
Like you did.
exactly, and then the other option is going on like Deviant Art. You don't want to take nobody else's pictures and be like, oh, look at my world or something like that. So it's kind of like, what do you do?
Make a lot of money and then pay for it.
Yeah. That's
Oh, that's what you do. But yeah, it's one of those things. It is cool to try to like see your characters come alive in some kind of visual form, even if it's just for you behind the scenes, being like little pins of character features that you've developed, and you're like, here's my characters.
right.
One
Yeah.
day you can see the world.
On my computer, just a couple pictures. I just look at 'em. Well, when I actually make something, like when I have a book cover design, then that becomes my character. Then I don't look at the other art anymore.
Sure.
Yeah. Like
Gotcha.
once I had this made, it's kind of like, okay, this is him now. This is him. Now I'm good.
I am satisfied.
Satisfied. Yes.
With But okay, since we're actually getting close to the end of the hour, I always want to make sure I hit a couple things. Another one is, where can people find and follow you outside of Book Talk? What is your website? If you have one, do you have a newsletter? All that kind of jazz. So where can people politely stalk you?
My website is www.3djohnson.com. And it's 3D because I have 3Ds in my first name. I have two middle names, so it's 3D Johnson. I don't know why. I probably should have just did author Dartanyan Johnson or something like that. But author 3D Johnson is everywhere. My Instagram. It's of course my TikTok. So just type it in, author 3D Johnson. It'll pop up. Something will pop up.
We hope it takes you to the right place. No. Do you have a newsletter at this moment, or are you
Yeah.
focused on more of a face-to-face stuff like?
Do I use my newsletter? That's the question. I think my last message, August maybe. It might have been August. Yeah, but I
I
have one.
I try to do, and again, it's one of those. It's that it's like thin ice. I don't want to overwhelm someone and feel like I'm bogging them down or spamming them, but I also feel like in the back of my mind, maybe it's just me because a creature of habit. If I have a rhythm where I'm like, it's once a month, then people won't forget about him either. So that's what I try to do is once a month, unless I have like a super special news announcement, like a cover reveal. But yeah, I try to keep it just once a month. But yeah, it's kind of sometimes it's hard to like maintain all these things.
Yeah, I'm signed up. I don't know if you know Evan Winter. He's an author. He did the Burning or something. But I'm signed up to his newsletter. I signed up to his newsletter like 2 years ago, and I probably got one email. I probably got one email from him this whole time. So but I remember he's there though. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, he's giving me hope that I don't have to send it out so often.
There you go. Hey, as long as your readers kind of have a way to connect with you and learn about your upcoming releases and your releases, and that's really what matters. Answer
Right.
questions if they have. Be like, why did you do this to this character? How dare you? Okay, I'm sorry. I also got one of those the other day. I was just like, I was so sad that you unalive this character. I'm like, sorry. Wait until book two.
We be sad too when we have to unalive characters.
True.
Yeah,
Very true.
we're sad first.
That is true.
You know?
I hate that there's always that moment where my brain clicks and I'm like, oh no, this character's not going to make it any further. And I'm like, oh no, I need to be hugged right now.
Yeah, I try to keep people alive sometimes, and then the story is like it just can't do it. It can't happen. They have to go. Like I didn't make that decision.
But that's so funny. But yeah, no, it is kind of hard because it's like I want you to survive, and the story's like, no, they're not.
Right.
Mm-mm.
My character deserves to raise his family. Okay, I didn't mean to do what I did.
It was out of my hands, though technically I wrote it down, so I guess it was in my hands. But the story was the the meta of being an author. Anywho, let me ask you, and for anybody else who's listening, this can apply as well. Is there anything a question that you wanted to ask today that you haven't had a chance, or any topic that you wanted to cover that we have yet to cover? Like, dun, dun, dun.
No, not really. It's kind of just. Well, how long have you been writing? I'm looking at all your books. How long?
Okay, it's an illusion. It's an illusion because the novellas are short, so I can put out more of those a year because they're shorter. 4 of those is a normal size book, so I don't really release as much as people think. It just makes me feel good when I'm like every few months I'm able to put something short out. I'm like, I still exist.
I have a novella in this thing. It took me about 4 months to get this. It took me about four. This is
Relative-
150 pages.
Relatively shorter time.
Oh, okay.
It's all relative, but compared to some of my long books, that I mean, they take again takes time to go through all the stages, and then when it's done, I'm so bad about it. I just want to immediately release it. That I need to be better about like stirring a buzz before release, because as soon as it's like ready, I'm like, yay, go be free, and I'm like, oh yeah, no one knows it's coming out because I didn't talk about it. I was just doing the editing.
My problem is it was pre-orders. Like I want to pre-order as soon as I have an idea, I'm ready to get the cover and put that thing on a pre-order. And I'm learning to finish writing the book. When the editor gives it back to me and I'm making the final adjustments, then I could probably go ahead and do a pre-order for about 5-6 months in advance. Probably hit up like NetGalley for a 3 month, or something like that, so I can actually, so people know that it's coming out. Because I'll drop it real quick. Like I give you a 2 week pre-order, like bam.
I'm so bad about pre-orders too. I've never been that successful with them. But again, I also know one of my weaknesses is I need to be better about stirring a buzz when it comes out. But with my novellas, again, I release them so quickly and so many, I have a number of them at this point that I don't worry as much about that as much. But for my full length books, the time, energy, effort, those are the ones I really do need to like come up with a better release strategy. So I'm working on that this year. I'm doing that. I'm working on that. It hurts my heart because I have a book that I'm like, I want to release next month. I can't. I'm holding it off until closer to the summer so I can run a Kickstarter, do the whole pre-order, talk it up.
You have a sexy guy in that book. That's what you need. You need a sexy guy, and you need to promote the hell out of him. So find a guy in that book. You
Nice. I'm just like a adventure and either really dark and gritty or clean kind of questioning. Yeah,
don't have to have spice. You just gotta exploit them.
exploit them. Yes. Yes, I need yes. Again, trying to be better strategically with things like that and be like, okay, romance isn't forefront, but there is something there. Maybe I should mention it.
Exactly.
Better ways to reach people because yeah, people love romance. And I
Yeah,
and I was talking to one of my friends who loves spicy books, and I was like, I'm writing my first one that is romance forward. She was like, ooh, and I'm like, but it's a clean romance, and she was like, oh.
What?
I lost her. I lost her. But I was like, I didn't want to like lie to you. I'm just, it's not gonna be a spicy romance. She's like, yeah, okay. I lost her. But oh well. C'est la vie. But yeah, go back to answer the question you asked me a while ago. I always have told stories, and then took me a long time to figure out how to write a full book, what to do to publish a book. So between coming up with the idea and publishing my first book, it was about 10 years. 4 were college, so give me that. But yeah, I published my first time I was published as an author since 2016. So it was a little slower to start out with. I had no idea. I wrote the book, put it out there, and I was like, everybody's gonna find it and love it. And then like about 2 years after that, I was like, you know what, I should probably market it.
Probably tell people it exists.
That's what I have to do. So I'm constantly learning how to improve upon that fact, and I can't just release a book and be like everybody will find it because honestly, there are so many fantastic books being released all the time. We do kind of have to be like, hi, I'm over here. Check out my book.
I was just talking about a book. They didn't like the book, but they was talking about they bought it because there was so much buzz around it. I've never heard of that book a day in my life. But they were like, it was so much buzz around the book, and they went ahead and read it, and they didn't like it. But it's just amazing how you have because I see the same 10, 15 books on this app over and over and over and over. So somebody's generating buzz somewhere.
Yep. Well, and that's also a thing. I try to every so often shake up my algorithm because if I realize that I'm seeing the exact same people, the exact same again comments, or I try to actually purposely find someone new to follow, and try to search something a little different to kind of shake up the algorithm because I love all my bookish community friends. I do. Y'all are all fantastic, but it is nice to also see something new periodically. Be like, ah. Maybe I'll get in front of someone new too. Who knows? Because it does niche down pretty hard. Thank you, algorithms, for the better or the worse. It can be tough, but yeah. I know we are rounding the end of the hour, but I always want to make sure I say thank you for coming out and hanging out with me and catching up. And I am excited about after seeing your character art, this new storyline that you're working on, and
Spicy scene in there. I didn't mean for it to happen. I was like, okay, they're getting along because they didn't like each other. Well, she didn't like him. She doesn't really like anybody. She doesn't like him, so they finally getting involved, and it was the right time. I was gonna say, let's not go too crazy with the words, though. I mean, that was, you know, but yeah, they get it down.
make your parents blush knowing that you wrote it?
My mom read the rest of my other books, and let me tell you something about this other book. The first time, my first book, Creston Kingdom, it has little spikes in there. And the only reason why I added it is because of Akatar. It was around that time, by 2018, when I read that book for the first time, and I said, "Oh, they putting this in fantasy." So I said, "Well, let me try to." And my mom read that book though, so I don't, you know.
I know it took me I'm trying to remember which volume for my adult Viking series. It was one of the later ones. I don't know, it was 11 maybe. But I finally had that scene that some of my readers were waiting for, and they were like, "They finally did it." I'm like, "Yay." But now can I like move on back to the adventure, cuz that's not what I write.
They gotta stop off at a tavern on the way to their destination. They gotta do it again. Gotta do it again. You gotta make it happen.
Oh goodness gracious. Maybe. I'll figure it out. I don't want to force anything, even spice. If it's meant to happen, it will happen. Like your scene.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. They were. It was a nice rainy day or rainy night. They were in the inn, just them two, because the other two left, and they were talking, and
Hey,
stuff happened.
see, now you need to promote that book with that, just again, with that point of view of that scene. What if these two enemies to friends become war? Dot dot dot. I don't know how you tag it. Don't ask me.
Think of some. I was
Yeah,
just thinking of 'em.
and all of a sudden you'll have a whole new readership.
Hope cross my fingers. I hope.
Yeah. I have. Sorry, a pop up. I guess who knew? They were like, your time. I didn't know I had like a timer feature on it. Sorry. But anywho, it was telling me, it was like, "You have been talking for an hour. Do you want to continue?" And I was like, "Well, I am wrapping up, but don't don't shut me down early." That's new. Anywho, thank you for coming out and hanging out today. And again, if you ever want to jump on and do another one of these down the line, I do them weekly. Schedule them in advance though, because life.
Yep. I don't know. Whenever I release, I'll probably release this in the fall sometime, but I'll let you know.
Yeah. Again, if you want to do a newsletter, well, it doesn't have to be a true swap if you don't actually use your newsletter, but if you ever want me to put your book on my newsletter, just let me know and we can arrange something that way too. You never know. Cross promotion.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for.
All right.
Yep. And thank you for everybody who's come out and hung out with us. And until next time, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye, everyone.